Okay, so this one's a little bit shorter today. Find your notes from yesterday, and we'll continue on here. We're going to take a look at this top one where we're solving for x. We can use the formula measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 equals the remote, or the measure of the remote angle. Let's call this one angle 1 and this one angle 2. Doesn't matter which one, you can flip-flop those. And now we're looking for x, that's the remote. 61 for the measure of angle 1 plus 57 for the measure of angle 2 should tell us how much that remote angle is, the x. So 118 equals x. If you add those two together, this one right here then is 118 degrees. Just a little bit of information, reminder that it takes 3 angles to add up for a triangle to equal 180. So 61, 57, and whatever that other one would be. And if I go ahead and solve that, subtract 118 from each side, we actually end up with that unknown of being 62. So 62 degrees. Now I can check that if I want to. Reminder, that's a straight line right there, a 180 degree supplemental or linear pair. Those two together should equal 180. If I add those, go ahead and try that out. 118 plus 62. Let me know if I made a mistake. 180 degrees for the triangle and 180 degrees for the linear pair or the supplementary angles. Let's see what you can do on number 3. Use measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 equals the measure of the remote angle. Let's call this one angle 1. Let's call this one angle 2. Again, those could be flip-flopped. It doesn't matter. And go ahead and solve that. See what you get. So I took the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 and set it equal to whatever the remote would be. Measure of angle 1 was x plus the measure of angle 2, 90. And the remote is 121. If I subtract 90 from each side, I then end up with x equals 31. So 31 degrees for this measure right here. And let me remind you a little bit about why it's called a remote angle. I like to think of an island, like a remote island. They call it island sometimes a remote island. It's kind of way out in the middle of nowhere. It's outside of everything else. That 148 right there, that's the remote angle. It's outside of the triangle. So that's the only reason they call it a remote angle. So let's see if you can try number 4 all by yourself. Again, using the same formula, the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 equals the remote angle. And if you tried that out, I did x plus 123 equals 148. Subtracting 123 from each side, of course. And I end up with x equals 25. So the measure of angle x, when I plug that number back in, is 25 degrees. Now let's see what you can do with this 2 truths and a lie. Take a second, see what you come up with. Have fun.